What's up, y'all?
Hey.
Oh, wait. Do we need this closer?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Welcome to our YouTube video in the car today. Hope that you like it. We're on the go. We're traveling. We don't have an office in California. We just have an apartment here. And so we're working on that. But that also means that we don't have anywhere good to record. So here we are. Why are we the same?
I don't know.
Today we wanted to talk about needs, how to communicate your needs without being too needy, clingy, codependent, or demanding.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good topic. Someone threw it in. Who threw it in? Kirkland Smith actually suggested that we do a video on this. So this one's for you, Kirkland Smith.
This can be in dating relationships. This could be in intimate friendships. This could be in family, people that you're building connection with and wanting to have good intimacy with.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great topic. And personally, I think it starts with having a healthy understanding and value for your needs. You know, a lot of people, especially in the Christian church, think that being like Jesus looks like having no needs. And wow. I actually need sunlight right now. If you could move that back, that would be great.
I just had the light hitting me in just the wrong spot, so I hope that the color is okay still.
I think it starts with valuing your needs, because in the Christian church, we learn that, you know, to be like Jesus is to sacrifice your needs.
Die to yourself, pick up the cross, and follow me. And we interpret that as all of my needs need to die in order for me to be Christ-like.
Yeah.
And we actually don't become more like Jesus by trying to neglect and abandon ourselves. It doesn't work like that. We're humans and we have needs. We have things going on inside of us that needed to be tended to and looked at. And we have things that we need from other people and relationships in order to show up fully, in order to actually cultivate safety and intimacy and connection. That safety and that connection and intimacy isn't cultivated by dying to yourself and abandoning yourself and never sharing what you need, never sharing what you want. Actually, that's happened in our marriage, and we've probably to some extent both done it. But Spence has had a history, and we won't give the backstory, but he's had a history of abandoning himself and his needs in order to try to please and satisfy me. So he has had a belief, even though he knows logically that this isn't true or good, he's had a belief that if he can just neglect himself and do whatever I want to do and whatever I'm needing, then that will yield really good fruit in our marriage.
Then I'll get the connection that I'm making that exchange for.
Yes.
And that was something I learned in my family dynamics too.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one side of the spectrum. The other side is, well, you abandon your needs. The other side is still, I don't believe my needs matter, and so I'm going to aggressively throw them in people's faces, or I'm going to have desperation energy in my relationships because I'm scared that my needs will never get met.
So what's happened, this is what I was going to say. So, and we're both ADD, so we have to like compete to share sometimes to get our thoughts out. We're like, I don't want to lose it. Why that has been really not good in marriage is because then he has pain, bitterness, and resentment because he doesn't get to have, and it's his choice in those moments, but like in hindsight, he's like, well, I didn't have needs here and I didn't have a voice here and we did what you wanted to do here, and it feels like it's never about me and it's only about you, and you know what you want and you know what you need and I don't know what I want and I don't know what I need. And I'm like, I want you to fully bring yourself to the table. I want you to give suggestions. I want to hear your opinion. I want to take care of you, but I can't do that if you don't voice your needs. And so it actually doesn't make a healthy marriage or relationship if you're constantly abandoning yourself to take care of someone else. What makes a healthy relationship is, hey, I have needs and they matter, and you have needs and they matter, but we both need to be powerful to bring and voice those needs to each other without demands, without expectations, but as a, hey, here's something that I'm needing and wanting and I want to contribute this, but I want it to feel like it's a safe environment for my needs to matter and for you to take care of me just like I take care of you.
Yeah, and one of the things that I noticed is that I actually avoided really deep committed relationships because I was scared that, like my dad, I would have to sacrifice my heart and needs in a marriage to satisfy a woman, because that's the masculinity that he modeled for me. And I think that was just the Christendom that he grew up in. That was the Christendom that was spiritual and what he was striving for. And what I noticed was that it actually led to resentment on both sides in marriage, you know. And ultimately it disempowered my mom from learning how to get her needs met with herself and with God.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that really matters before we get into the communication side of things, is that there has to be a healthy value for your needs, but there also has to be a healthy understanding that God is your main source.
Yeah.
So when God is your main source of getting your needs met, your most basic needs are like significance. Like, we all need to feel significant. We all need to be seen, known, loved, safe and secure. We need recognition. We need, what are some other ones? There's a lot. I mean, we can go down a wheel, but that's more in like our courses and our trainings. But there are basic needs that we have as human beings. And oftentimes, if we don't know how to get those needs met with God, we throw them at people, or they come out in ways that are really destructive. You know, I noticed that my need for significance led me into a porn addiction for years and years and years. And I didn't know it was so buried underneath that medication that I wasn't even aware that I had a huge need for significance that was never met.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to meet that. I didn't know how to get that need met with God. And it wasn't until I destroyed the shame and guilt I felt for pornography that I could uncover that, oh my gosh, this whole time it was just a need for significance, a need for comfort, and I could have compassion towards myself instead of blaming and accusing and judging myself into it. But that's the power of learning that my needs matter, bringing them to God. But then now there's actually a season I'm in where I can invite people into meeting those needs as well, and it's safe. And I don't have this desperate energy to bring to the table with them, but I can still ask for them to meet those needs in vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. So like Spence said, like at first, it's a process of recognizing and valuing your needs. Not trying to shove them, shame them, abandon yourself, neglect yourself. It's ineffective, and you will only like deal with the consequences of that. The bitterness, the resentment, feeling like you don't matter, feeling like you're insignificant. So if you can go on that process and recognize first, like, who taught me that my needs didn't matter? Like, where in life did I learn that? And how do I pour value into that? Realizing that these are important. Like, I have emotional needs, I have spiritual needs, I have physical needs. And the more I value those and pour into those, the fuller I am. And actually, the more like Jesus I become, because I'm full and I can overflow love. So it's recognizing my needs matter. And then in relationship, recognizing, okay, I have needs that this person might not ever be able to meet. I need to be okay with this person not being able to meet those, because God is ultimately supposed to be my main source. If I have a huge need to feel wanted, that's one of my main needs and pain points I've had. I've had a belief since my childhood that people don't want me. The close people, not people, but like the closest people in my life, even if they're committed to me, that they don't actually want me. So if I have a huge need to know that I am wanted, and I bring that desperation energy, that hole and that deficit that I've had to my husband, I have proof that no matter what he does, no matter how hard he tries, no matter how much he tries to pour love into that thing, he won't be able to fill it, because it's actually not his to fill. It's a need that actually only God can fill. So I need to go to God, and I need to get God to fill that. That might look like asking God questions like, God, do you want me? What about me do you love? How are you showing me that you want me today? What are ways that you've been loving me today? What are the things about me that you see, that you love, that you value? And letting God pour into that cup, pour into that bank.
The one thing I would say just in that is that we have more than a couple hours on just needs in our courses, in our training and coaching. And it's because there's also some work you may have to do with childhood pain and trauma.
A lot.
And most likely, you have to do a lot to rewrite the narrative that you have internally. But these are some practical things you can introduce now.
I have been on this journey for 10 years, and I still have triggered moments. I still have times where I'm struggling to believe that I'm wanted, where I am struggling to believe that I'm loved, where I'm struggling to believe that I won't be abandoned. And up here, I know better. Up here, I have all these amazing relationships and people that I'm committed to, but I still have a little girl in me that went through a lot of pain, that needs a lot of love from God and the people around her.
Your language may sound like, nobody ever loves me the way that I love them.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever going to be there for me the way that I need them.
Mm-hmm. No matter what I do, it's never going to be enough.
My needs never matter. Nobody, I'm never going to get chosen.
There are a lot of narratives that you and we have in our heads that are just that. They're stories that we tell ourselves, and it's not actually truth, but it's from a belief system that happened in your childhood. And so in order to break those, we need to pour a lot of love into those. So, for example, it's taking that need and it's bringing it to God, and it's asking him, how am I significant to you? Why do you think that I'm enough? What do you love about me? And letting him meet those needs and pour truth into you. And if you don't have a relationship with Jesus where you're like communicating with him, now I'm not saying like launching desperate prayers, constantly asking God for things and never seeing anything happen. I'm saying like a dialogue. Like Jesus actually died on the cross to give you access to God. And so if you are living in a relationship with God where you're not in communion with him, where you're not hearing his voice and hearing his truths, I highly encourage you to go on that journey of what does it look like to start pouring into that belief that God's talking to me, that that's actually what Jesus gave me access to, that that's actually why I have the Holy Spirit, is so I can have those conversations with God.
And what I'll just say, so we can get to the meat and potatoes of like the actual video, is that if this is all sounding like overwhelming, or like or you feel really disconnected from your needs, or
this doesn't make any sense
or
to
none
you,
of that makes sense, you probably need to go on a way deeper process. Yeah. And so I definitely recommend having leadership to help you walk through some of those past moments, belief systems, and stories you've learned from childhood. But in terms of...
And I will say, too, this isn't us trying to just sell our course or our programs. This is us saying, if this feels like a lot, there are actual solutions out there, whether it's us or whether it's someone else. This is for the comments that are like, yeah, but how do I practically do that? We're answering that question.
Get counseling, get coaching, get something.
Yeah.
Get something that's going to help you outside of your own self.
Can I share my third practical point that I've been trying to get to, though?
Sure.
So after we get those needs met by God, after we recognize our needs matter, we bring those needs to God for those to get met, then I can actually have a healthy conversation with someone that I love.
Right.
That would look like me. So say, for example, I am not feeling wanted by my husband, and I'm wishing and fantasizing that he would just pursue me more. I'm feeling pain that he's not pursuing me more. I wish he would look at me more, compliment me more, ask me on a date, go out of his way to do things for me, whatever it is. If I feel myself fantasizing over wishing that this desire would get filled, it lets me know I have a deficit. So after I've done my first two things, then I can be like, oh, okay, well, I don't desperately need this from him anymore. But what I could do is engage in a conversation where I'm inviting him in. I'm extending an invitation to him to fill this thing for me. Not because I desperately need it, not because I have to have it. I'm not going to put a bunch of expectations on him.
And even if you did, though, there's a way to communicate that without making it my responsibility. Yeah. You could still be in the midst of that massive pain and just share with me.
So sometimes, say if I'm in the midst of massive pain and I'm feeling the weight of that and it feels hard and scary, I might go to Spencer and share with him, hey, babe, I have a lot of pain right now. I have fears coming up that my needs are never going to get met. I feel this huge pain and I'm believing this narrative. I have this story going on in my head that you actually don't want me and that you don't want to pursue me, and that if you did, you would be doing these things.
And there's usually some sniffles and some tears.
And bringing vulnerability is the most beautiful way to do this. So I'm not telling him what he's doing wrong. I'm not telling him where he's failing, where he's inadequate, how he's messing up. I'm sharing the narrative in my head is that you actually don't love me or want me, and that if you did, that you would be doing X, Y, and Z. And And that may not be true for you at all. I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong, but I'm just saying, like, in these different moments, what's being communicated to me and what I'm hearing because of my history with pain is that you actually don't love me. And I just wanted to share with you. And I also just want to vulnerably ask, is that true for you at all? Like, what do you think about me? What are the ways that you have been pursuing me, just in case I haven't noticed because of my own pain?
And you might even, like, I've heard you ask questions like, I think I might just need to hear some things that you love about me. Is that something that you can share? And there's even moments where I'm like, hey, I'm actually feeling disconnected from myself. And so can I share with you in like 15, 20 minutes, or can we get together in an hour and talk? But if I can engage with compassion and give her something in that moment, then that's a freedom and space that we give each other in those moments too, where it's again, it's not my responsibility to fix her. But then there's been times too where she shares needs and there might be some language that feels accusational, or maybe it's the best language that she has. Okay.
There are times I'm trying to healthily, powerfully communicate, and I think I'm doing a really good job, but what it actually sounds like is, you haven't taken me on a date in a week. You haven't done anything to initiate connection with me. And I'll list...
There are girls that feel like we're talking about them now.
So it's a case. What I did in my head is I made up a case of all the reasons why he doesn't love me. And then I list proof to him. You haven't done this, 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 or this, or this. And that is why I have pain. Which what I'm really saying is, you are the problem for not meeting my needs and not filling up this tank. And here is my case against you for why you've failed. That's what a man will hear when we communicate our needs with expectation and demands. All they actually hear is, I'm not enough, I'm not adequate, no matter what I do, I'm never going to be able to meet her needs. I'm never going to be able to reach her standards. I feel like I've tried these things and you haven't seen it. So now I just feel like a failure as a man.
And I'm shut down, and why even try?
Yeah.
And then that makes you feel even less pursued.
Yeah.
Less chosen, and it's a feedback loop that keeps going back and forth.
Yeah.
That makes it worse and worse.
So what I do in moments, besides the first conversation I shared, is I'm good at recognizing now when my love tank from him feels a little bit empty. I first go to God and I get that full. And now I'm at a place where I think I'm healthy enough most days to be like, I'm going to get this need met by God later today when I have time. But I'm feeling like I have a deficit and I really want him to pour into that. So I might just be like, babe, will you tell me what you love about me right now? And do you think you could take me on a date this week? I miss you. I miss connection with you. Like, can we spend time loving on each other? Or could you tickle my back right now? Or like, I feel
like I can do all of those things. Mm-hmm. I feel like, okay, that makes me feel powerful. It doesn't make me feel like a failure. I'm not partnering with that story that I'm inadequate.
Yeah.
And that's also something that I have to take ownership for, is like, anytime she is blaming or accusing me, it's still triggering something I already believe about myself, and that's evidence of it, right? And so that's a process I need to go on of going, Spencer's not inadequate no matter what language she uses.
Yeah.
Something that's helpful too when you're communicating in a relationship is like, hey, I feel a lot of pain. You're not the problem. I may use some blame and accusational language when I'm communicating this stuff. And so I'm really sorry if it comes out as blame.
It's not my intention.
Anything that I'm communicating. It's definitely not my intention. And I'm not saying I'm right in this stuff, but I just need to process it out loud with you. Is that something that I can do? And again, if you get triggered by some of this stuff, just know I'm having to work through my blame language to get to my goal. At the end of that, though, is to get to a place where I can take ownership for what feels painful and where I have needs.
Good lead in, because we're going to wrap up. But what I want to share too is your needs are fully your responsibility.
Yep.
Your needs are no one else's responsibility. So if you can break up with that lie that, like, because I have a need, he's supposed to meet it, or my friend is supposed to meet it, or my parents or my family is supposed to meet it, that is such a lie that will set you up for failure and set the people up in your life to feel like epic disappointments. So if you can recognize, okay, my needs are my responsibility. And I want to just bust the myth that a man or a friend or whoever in your life should know what you need without you asking for it. It's bullshit, you guys. It is such BS that someone else should know your internal makeup and your thoughts and exactly what you're needing in each moment. What I have learned and what has
That's
been
you giving your power away to everybody.
And you'll feel powerless in life. You'll feel like a victim to everything. You'll feel like a victim to when he doesn't hold your hand when you want him to, or when he doesn't pull you in to kiss you when you want him to, or when your friend doesn't initiate a hangout when you want them to. What I've learned to do is if I'm desiring something, like the other night I was triggered, not towards Spencer, just because of something that happened. And I found myself really wishing for comfort, like longing for comfort internally. And an unhealthy version of that could be someone going to binge eat when they need comfort, going to masturbate, going to look at pornography.
Overworking, working too hard at the gym.
Yeah, working out.
Hanging out with people nonstop.
Trying to get your needs met by a guy, trying to get attention from a guy.
Numbing out on Netflix for like a long period of time.
So in that moment, I recognized like, oh, I'm feeling like I really need comfort. I found myself wanting to, and these are healthy ways to get comfort, but wanting to take a bath. I really wanted a bath, but I couldn't take a bath because our jets were dirty in the bathtub. And then I was like trying to cozy up on the couch. And then I realized like, oh, I actually feel kind of lonely right now. And so I leaned into him and I was like, well, you just tickle my back. I feel like I really need comfort right now. And so instead of being frustrated that he's not reading my mind and knowing how to comfort me, I can just share with him, oh, like, in my head, I was thinking, what would feel comforting right now? What's an idea that I could come up with? And so I asked him, will you tickle my arm? Will you tickle my back? Will you just hold me?
The problem is if you don't know how to meet your needs, how can you expect anybody else to do that? Like, yeah. How can you expect someone else that doesn't even know how to meet their own needs to meet your needs without you asking for them?
Yeah.
When you don't even know how to meet your needs. This is something that we have to take full ownership for if we're going to be successful in relationships. That doesn't mean that you have to choose every single person that you're dating just because it's your responsibility for not getting your needs met. You still get to decide, what do I want? Mm-hmm. You know, what type of traits do I want in somebody that I'm dating that eventually will be a spouse? You know, so like you can still be really powerful to choose what you want and what you don't want. There's no rights or wrongs like that in relationship, but it is your responsibility to take ownership for your needs. Yeah. Communicate your needs
without expectations,
and to grow in that communication. Our communication is where it's at because we've done this over and over and over again. We've failed so many times.
We have failed forward.
I've used so much blame and accusation. I have made so many conversations a story about my inadequacy. Yeah. Sammy has blamed and accused. Like, there's been so many things we've had to grow in because we've had normals of communication that we brought to the table when things are high stakes. And those are the things that you need to keep practicing in relationships so that you can grow. But at the end of the day, your needs are yours.
Yeah.
So I hope this was helpful for you guys.
Love you guys. If you liked it, if it was helpful, please comment. Tell us what you loved about it. Request topics for us to talk about. Share it with a friend. And again, if you feel like I need help, well, we can get you help. Click the links below. You can you can watch our live workshop. You can book a call and look into our programs, and you can explore and see if we feel like we're a good fit for you and if you're a good fit for us.
And so definitely watch our free training first, and that's yourheartfree.com/webinar-registration. And then there should be a webinar coming up, so you can check it out.
And it'll allow you to book a call after if you're interested. But we love you guys. We hope this was helpful. See you next week.
Bye, guys.